to today's live stream. I hope you are feeling well. We are back, everyone. We are here with you once more. It is so nice to be back with you once again. Yes, we are once again live across YouTube. It's ever so nice to be here. Hi, everybody. This is Mr. Duncan in England. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you feeling happy? Are you feeling happy? And I think it is a word that we are not using enough these days. There are many other words we could use to express happiness or to say that we actually feel happy. But it's a word that's not used enough. So tomorrow, when you are out walking amongst your friends, please walk up to the first person you see and say, "Are you happy?" And get them to reply with, "Yes, I am happy." Happiness. I know sometimes it doesn't come easily, and I know sometimes it is very hard to find. But I think happiness starts right here with you, the individual. Anyway, here we are all together again on a beautiful day. All I can say is the weather today is absolutely fantastic. 21, well, it's nearly 20 degrees. It might actually get as high as 21 later, but it's a lovely day, very warm, very pleasant outside. It is looking rather nice, to be honest with you. So my name is Duncan. I am one of those up there. I'm sure you know the score by now. You know what it's all about. English. We love the English language. However, this is a little bit different from all of those other English teachers. This is something we do live, first of all. It is 100% live right now at 8 minutes past 2 o'clock on Sunday, the 7th of May, 2023. I'm here right now, live as live can be. You can see behind me as well, outside the studio window is looking absolutely amazing today. Really, really nice, in fact. We have Mr. Steve coming a little bit later on. Oh, by the way, did you see that very special thing yesterday that happened? No, I'm not talking about Mr. Steve changing his underwear. We are talking all about the coronation. Charles became King Charles III. Apparently 13 million. That doesn't sound like a lot. I'm sure it must be more people than that. Maybe that's the amount of people or the number of people who watched in this country. But I think it must have been millions and millions of people watching the coronation that took place yesterday in London. So what about you? Did you watch the coronation? Did you see it? Was it interesting? I'm sure for a lot of people it must be interesting watching something like that, because you are getting, I suppose, a sense of another culture. And it's very easy to forget. When you live in a certain country, you forget that you are surrounded by your own culture. And I suppose to some people, watching all of the celebrations and all of the ceremony yesterday must have seemed very strange. I know in the USA they are absolutely crazy about all of this. They love anything connected to the royal family or royalty. English royalty, British royalty, Welsh royalty, Call it what you want. But it is very interesting. And most of the things that you saw happening yesterday date back almost 1,000 years. So many of the things done, many of the things that were said go back a very long way in tradition. And I suppose that's what it's all about, really. So the whole ceremony, from walking in, from being... Well, one of the most interesting parts of the whole ceremony must have been when Charles took most of his clothes off. So he stripped right down to a very loose shirt. And I thought that was a very interesting part of the ceremony, because he looked just like maybe a person from the street, a common person. But slowly but surely, they put all of the clothing onto him. They anointed his head with oil, special oil. No ordinary oil. It was very special oil. And then slowly they built up his clothing, his regalia, all of the things that he wore and the things that he had to hold. They were all symbolic. And then eventually he was crowned. That large crown was placed upon his head. And that's it. From that moment, he was the king. He became the King of England, King Charles III. All I can say is I hope he does better than the previous Charles and also the one before that. So they didn't have a very good time. So I hope this particular King Charles has a good time. I really do. So it's nice to see you here today. And if you did watch the coronation of the King yesterday, did you see it? Did you watch it? I know some people woke up very early yesterday morning to watch it. All I can say is thank you very much for your support of this country. We need the viewers, you see. So you might be one of the many millions of people who were watching the ceremony yesterday. Of course, there is always a little bit of controversy in these situations. Whenever something like this happens, there are always people who disagree with having a monarchy. And there were people in London protesting, and they were making their voices heard for a while, until they were dragged off the streets by the police and locked up in the back of a van. Didn't last very long, that's all I can say. Nice to see you all here on the live chat. Yes, we have made it all the way to the end of another week, and also the end of another weekend. And I suppose I should also say we are now into a new month. May has arrived. Yes, it's Sunday. I'm still drinking some water. Look what I've got here. Ooh, isn't it a big one? It's very big, and it's something I love to hold in my hand, and sometimes I like to put it in my mouth. Look at the size of that baguette. This is really getting me in the mood for our trip to France. Yes, around about 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks from now, we will all be meeting together. For those who are coming for the big meetup, the big Paris rendezvous. Are you excited? Look, I can't wait. And just to prove it, I have a lovely French baguette in my hand right now. Isn't that lovely? We might be seeing more of this a little bit later on. Talking of bread, Steve has been in the kitchen once again, doing his magic, weaving his magic in the kitchen. He has been making bread once again. It smells delicious. I'm just wondering whether or not Steve is going to bring some of that lovely bread into the studio to me. We will find out later on. Oh yes, Mr. Steve is coming, for those worried or wondering. And also he has some big news today. It might be good news, but it might also be bad news. So sometimes, have you noticed this? When a person tells you something, maybe they have something big happening in their life, and they tell you, sometimes it's good news, but also there might be a bad side or a downside to that thing that they are telling you. So we will see what happens later when Mr. Steve is with us. Maybe he will want to share his big news, or maybe not. Are you looking forward to meeting up in Paris for the beautiful rendezvous? I'm not sure where we are going to meet at the moment, but it will be somewhere central, around the centre of Paris, so it should be rather interesting. We will be mentioning Paris later on, by the way, because there is something I want to mention about Paris. Something interesting, an interesting fact. In fact. Hello to the live chat. Nice to see you here. Oh, we have Vitas. Well done, Vitas. You are first on today's live chat. Very interesting. Nice to see you here. And welcome. Vitas is first on today's live chat. Thank you, Vitas, for joining us. We also have Tomek is here. Hello, Tomek. Are you excited to be meeting up? I think it will be a very interesting situation, to be honest. Hello also to, one of our regular viewers, Luis Mendez, is here today. Hello, Luis. Nice to see you here. Hello, Mr. Duncan, the king of Facebook. And hello to all the queens and kings. Well, I have a feeling there might be a lot of kings watching, but also there might be a lot of queens watching as well. I'm not sure what's happening to my face today. You may have noticed that I haven't had a shave. In fact, I haven't shaved for a couple of days because the skin on my face is very sensitive at the moment. I don't know why, but it's very painful to shave. So I've decided to give my face a little bit of a rest for a couple of days. So that's why it looks very strange with my beard. And the really odd thing is I have some black strands of beard there, just there. So the rest of my beard is quite grey, but here I have just a very small line of dark brown beard. Can you see it? It's rather distracting, to say the least. Hello also to Sash. Hello, Double Sash. Nice to see you here. Everyone is here today. Claudia is here as well. Intelligent is also here, feeling very chuffed to be here. The word chuffed is an interesting word indeed. It means that you feel happy or pleased about a certain situation. Maybe something you feel pleased about. You can say that you feel chuffed. I am ever so chuffed to be here today. I really am. We also have Francesca. Hello, Francesca. A big bonjour to you. Also, Zudzika, Irene, Maria. Who else is here today? I always like to say hello to as many people as possible. And I do get complaints from people saying, Mr. Duncan, why did you not say hello to me? I will try to remember everyone today. I guess we will be talking about the royal family and the coronation. It was an important event for me. Thank you, Lilia. Yes, it was a very interesting time. We haven't seen this happen for, well, I would say around a generation, maybe a generation and a half. Over 70 years since it happened before. and I wasn't alive, and I have a feeling maybe you were not alive at the time, perhaps. And for many people, it was the first time that they've ever seen this particular event happen. It might not be the last time, though, because, of course, the thing to remember, and I know it's a rather sensitive subject, but King Charles is not young. He's 74 already. So he has had to wait for all those years to step in and become the King of England. So imagine that. Imagine waiting for all of those years to take your place, and then suddenly it happens, but you are 74 at the time. So we might be seeing another one of those in the next 15 or perhaps 20 years. I hope not, of course, but just in case. Hello also to Valentin. Hello, Valentin. Nice to see you here today. I am okay for those worried because I haven't been doing much here on YouTube. I've been doing other things away from YouTube, including making some changes here in the studio, readjusting some of the lights, and also rebuilding the green screen that I use behind me. So I have been busy doing all sorts of things, but most of it has been hidden away from you because you haven't seen it. Hello also to Irene. We have one or two people here who don't seem too pleased with the royal family. And yes, I suppose there are people who think that the royal family is a good thing to have, and there are those who think it isn't a big deal these days. Maybe they think it is out of date or antiquated. Ooh, there's an interesting word. The word antiquated means something that is old-fashioned or maybe out of date or even worn out. Something is antiquated. It's been done so many times and maybe it isn't relevant anymore. And there are many people who think that the royal family or having a monarchy is irrelevant nowadays. So not everyone is into that, to be honest. Thank you for your comments about my weight, by the way. Yes, I am still losing weight. Slowly but surely, I am slowly losing weight. And yes, it is happening. I am determined, when we meet up in Paris, I am determined that I will be wearing my skinny jeans. If you remember last year, I was talking about this, and it's my big aim to be able to fit into my very skinny, tight jeans. And they are quite small around the waist. So I will know that I've lost weight if I can pull my jeans up and also fasten them at the front without any of my belly hanging out. I will be very pleased, to say the least. Who else is here today? Oh, we have Jagdish. Hello, Jagdish Parab. Hello to you. Thank you very much for joining me again. So we are talking about royalty. I'm sure Mr. Steve will have a lot to talk about today. I think he will have all sorts of things to say about it. Now, I would say that we do disagree on some things, because a lot of people think that Mr. Steve and myself, we always agree on everything. But no, sometimes there are things we don't quite agree with. Sometimes we don't see eye to eye. So maybe if you don't see eye to eye with another person, maybe you disagree with them on certain subjects or certain topics or issues. And I suppose I was watching the coronation with Steve yesterday, and I was saying, well, it does seem very nice watching this, but what about all of the people who don't have much money, and those people who have to pay money from their taxes? So they are taxed. They have to pay money to the government, and some of that money then goes to support the monarchy. And Steve said, well, maybe there are many reasons why it's a good thing to have a monarchy. They bring a lot of tourists, a lot of people come to this country, and those people spend lots of money in this country. So maybe it is good for our economy. So there are two ways of looking at it. Hello also to Beatrice. Hello Beatrice, nice to see you here today. Thank you very much for your lovely compliments. Mr. Duncan, you do look quite well today. I look slimmer, I think it's safe to say. I've become very brave because I'm actually wearing my black t-shirt today, because some people say that if you wear black you look slimmer. I'm not sure how true that is, but anyway, I'm quite pleased. I'm not a vain person. I don't spend all of my time looking in the mirror, but I also like to make sure that I stay healthy, and that's the main reason why I'm doing this. That is the main reason why I'm doing this at the moment. Hello Sylvie, Sylvie, nice to see you here today. We will be having a little a little taste of the Parisian scenes, some of the sights of Paris in a few moments before Mr. Steve comes along. Can I say hello to Rosa? Is there anyone else I've forgotten? I hope not. Irene, a prank scene. Hello to you as well. So yes, we will be meeting up in Paris in around about 4-5 weeks from now. So it will be in early June. I've already found out a couple of things. One is that early June is a good time to go to Paris because it's still not very busy. So I think we have actually chosen a very good time to go to Paris, because early June, and I was researching this morning all of this, apparently it's a good time to go, early June. So there are not that many people there. The tourist season doesn't get busy in Paris normally until towards the end of June and also the whole of July. So I'm hoping when we meet up in Paris, it won't be too busy. Who else is here today? I don't want to forget anyone. Wafay is here. Hello, Wafay. It seems like a long time since I said hello to you. How are you doing? I hope you are doing very well. Thank you very much. Now I'm getting lots of comments about my weight. I do look slimmer. It is true. Definitely. So Mr. Steve will be here with us in around about 2 minutes. Just enough time for us to get some of the feeling, some of the sense, some of the atmosphere of the place where we will be meeting up in a few weeks from now. Yes, we will be getting together and we will be having our Paris rendezvous. Ooh la la! We are really getting in the mood for Paris. It is coming, and that's not the only thing that's coming, because coming up right now, you know what's coming next. We are here again. Not only me, but also this guy as well. Mr. Steve is back with us. Oh,
I don't know which camera I'm supposed to be on, Mr. Duncan, because you always flit around.
We are on that camera.
I can tell that now, because we've got two in here. Well, at least two. We've probably got about a dozen. There's one over there, there's one up there, there's one down there. I never know which one to look at, Mr. Duncan. Anyway, welcome, hello from me. Mr. Duncan's already said hello, but I'm saying hello as well.
That's okay.
Because I've come on half an hour later, which I usually do on a Sunday, don't I, Mr. Duncan?
It is very good, yes.
Stating the obvious. We've got quite a few people watching today, Mr. Duncan. It's been an exciting weekend, hasn't it?
It's been a very interesting weekend. There was something interesting happening yesterday. You may have heard about it.
What was it?
But there was a guy in London, and he went shopping with his wife to buy a new hat. And not only did he get a new hat, but she also got a new hat as well. And they decided it was such a special day, they were going to show their new hats on television to around 130 million people, which is quite nice when you think about it.
Right, okay, yes, there were some nice hats. You're, of course, referring to the crowns.
The crowns, yes.
Are you not?
I am. The coronation.
Of, Charles and Camilla.
Yes.
We've got a queen.
Yes. And of course, it has caused quite a stir. Not everyone is on side with royalty or having a monarchy. There are those who feel strongly against it and those who feel strongly for it.
Well, my argument always is it's worked for nearly 1,000 years. So why change it? And if we were to get an elected head of state, which is what the alternative is, who do you think you would get? You would just get all these ex-prime ministers who would get voted in as head of state. Do you really want somebody like Johnson as head of state? Or do you really want, who really, they're carrying with them all this political baggage? The monarchy isn't political. That's the great thing about it. Whereas if you get another head of state who's come from a political party, it's all still politics are involved in it. And anyway, that's my... We won't get into that discussion because I'm sure lots of people will have contrary ideas, but it's worked.
Yes.
And it's worked for all these centuries, I would say. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay, Steve, you have to just...
is what I say.
That's it. And here comes the full stop.
Well, they're both... Whatever system you've got, they're never perfect, are they? There's not a perfect system out there.
There isn't one.
So
nothing is perfect.
We haven't been taken over by dictators yet, which, could happen if you haven't got a monarchy, hereditary monarchy, because ultimately they can stop that from happening.
Yes, but don't forget. But don't forget they used to have teeth. The monarchy.
Oh yes, they did. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Then I won't say anything else then.
No, I'm just saying. Yeah, they did. Yeah, but they don't now. But yeah. Anyway. Oh, Mr. Duncan, it's a controversial subject, and there were people around here living where we are now, some very anti and some very pro monarchists. Some people had. Yes, I heard. You see, some people had flags outside their houses. We went for a walk last night. We saw a house with a flag outside, obviously supporting what was going on yesterday. And yet I also heard there were some people who were deliberately not watching because they don't want to get rid of it, all that sort of thing. I think they're jealous.
Well, maybe they're just not interested. There are people who are just not interested in it.
True.
Can I just finish a sentence today? There are people who are not interested in the monarchy. But they don't want to see it stopped or scrapped. I mean, I don't.
Yeah. No, I'm just agreeing with you. Carry on.
I don't follow Football. I don't follow football at all. I don't. But I don't want it banned. I just have no interest in it. So I think there is a lot of lethargy.
Ambivalence.
Yes.
That's a good word. A lot of people are ambivalent.
So my word is lethargy, and yours is
ambivalence. You just sort of, well, I don't mind one way or the other, but I'm not going to necessarily spend my entire day watching what was going on. I watched lots of it, Mr. Duncan, because I'm just interested in watching those events because they're unique events.
So what's your favourite bit?
The music.
So which particular piece?
Zadok the Priest, I like that one. I also like the one as the King came in.
I do like the one.
I can't remember who that's
yes,
by.
I do. We are most glad to see you, or something.
I was glad by.
Yes.
Oh, who's that by?
I don't know. We'll take a break, shall we?
But that was lovely because that goes on for a long time, and I've sung that when I was in the Birmingham choir.
Yeah.
I've sung all those songs actually, all those particular ones. Parry, it's by Hubert Parry.
Yeah, it's a very stirring piece.
Very stirring, yes.
So there are lots of pieces of music that are played during that time. And yes, there is the other one, the priest one, where everyone really does get emotional because we know that the crown is about to be put onto the new monarch's head, even though they did seem to have a little bit of difficulty getting it to stay on King Charles's head, because he lowered the crown and then he turned it around like he was trying to screw in a light bulb. And I was waiting for Prince Charles or King Charles, his head, to turn round with it. So there was a little bit of...
You could put some very funny sound effects over. You could overlay some very funny sound effects over a lot of what was going on yesterday. I'm not sure how many people really did watch it. I don't know if you've had any. How many people actually watched on the television and at home? I'd like to see some figures about how many people actually did watch.
They think at the moment, I think it's 130 million around the world. So everyone. A lot of people had to get up very early, including some of our viewers, by the way. So... Well done to those who managed to get out of bed at 6 a.m. yesterday morning to watch the coronation. We didn't have to worry about that because it started in the morning here, mid-morning, so we didn't have to worry too much about it. But yes, and I think there's also a celebration tonight as well.
So it's a bit of escapism, isn't it? A bit of pomp and it's just something to take your mind off the worries of what's going on around the world and the economy and all that sort of thing.
There's nothing better if you want to take your mind off all of the problems. Maybe you don't have much money and you're struggling. There's nothing that takes your mind off that than watching royalty riding around dressed in jewellery, priceless crowns, and riding around in gold carriages. Nothing helps you forget about all of your problems.
I'd love to do that, but Francesca says there's a little problem with the sound.
Is there?
Does anybody else think there's a problem with the sound? Can you hear us clearly? Please let us know. Either way.
Okay.
It might be just where Francesca is, but if you can't hear us properly, please let us know.
Yes, I mean there sometimes is a problem, but and also sometimes it's a bit like the BBC yesterday. They also had a lot of problems with their sound. Watching here in the UK, I'm sure it was all right for you, but
Vitas says no.
No, what?
Well, hopefully it means no problem with the sound.
Or no, we can't hear you.
I can hear you clearly, says intelligent.
Let me just make sure. I can do a couple of little checks.
Olga says she's got a problem.
Oh.
And so does Anna.
Oh, okay.
When you say disruption or disturbance, is it that the volume is wrong or it's breaking up? Or please let us know. Mr. Duncan is checking all his various levers of power, so to speak, to make sure that everything. Belarusia says, Claudia says it's okay.
Okay.
So maybe it's country specific.
What?
Lewis makes a very interesting point.
Okay.
And I'll answer Lewis's question.
Absolutely no idea what was happening there. I still don't know. And I'm just making sure that the sound is all right, because we did have a few problems as well with the sound. So I am going to press some buttons. This is really both annoying and also embarrassing at the same time. So I'm just going to see what we've got going on here. Do, do, do. Can you hear me? Okay, let's have a look. So I think we are back. I think we are back with complete sound and almost complete image. We will see what happens. Here we go. Are you ready? I'm going to press the button now, even though everything looks rather odd. I don't know why, because the power suddenly cut off and everything went a little bit weird. Oh, there we are.
Yes, we've got a very unreliable electricity supply where we are. It often goes off, probably about once a month. And it chose to do it in the middle of our live stream, which is very convenient. We don't know why. It's like living in a third world country sometimes.
It is
where we are.
It is a bit like that.
It's always going off. It went off about 2 weeks ago, didn't it? And we were cooking a meal at the time. But it happened, so there we go. Apologies for that. But here we are. I was answering a question. Well, let's wait till everybody's back for answer that question because we need to let people.
What was the question, though?
I'll find it. It was from Lewis asking about. Well, let me find it, Mr. Duncan.
Okay.
Lewis was asking a question about why was it Edward, the king from I can't remember who that was now, had to abdicate because he was marrying an American.
I always wanted to say Edward VII.
Yes,
and he had to step down. He was going to become king, and then he stepped aside because he wanted to marry Wallis Simpson, who was a very beautiful, but also already married once and divorced lady from the USA. And that did not go down very well with the royal family. They said, no, you don't do that sort of thing.
Because it was, they're very religious, the royal family. And so it wasn't allowed. But of course, over time, things change. And so now it's allowed because they're not against people who have been previously married, sort of people who were divorced. So that's the reason that Charles was allowed to marry Camilla, is because that strict rule is no longer in place for the monarchy, but it was back then. Things change, things move with the times, and it's so many divorced people around now. It would be very difficult to find somebody else that wasn't. So
sometimes it happens for the better, but of course protocol is a word that they often use. So things that are done in a certain way, and marrying a divorcee, a woman who's already been married and then divorced, was seen as a really bad thing.
It was just in normal society as well, wasn't it?
Yes.
Not just in royal societies, just in normal society. It was very bad. If you were divorced, well, I mean, women couldn't divorce men at one point. It was the man that used to end the would end the relationship. Women weren't allowed, I don't think, were they, for some time to actually divorce their husbands, but of course they are now.
I have the luxury of never being married or divorced, although I have seen what happens when it does occur.
Yes, it was seen as shameful. A hang back from the Victorian days of sort of Puritan sort of thinking.
Well, it is religion, isn't it, as well?
It's religion, that's right. It is. It's because we're a Christian country, in theory.
Secular. I think most people have agreed now that we are actually a secular society because there are so many religions being practiced in this country now. So I think it's unfair to single one out. But yes, I know what you mean,
Steve.
Well,
the king had to swear to that, didn't he, yesterday?
That's it. But that's a 1,000-year-old tradition. So
yeah, but he said had to swear to upholding the Protestant religion.
Yes, they made a point of that. Apparently that was written in. That part was written in to make it slightly more reinforced. I don't think many people like that part of the ceremony, to be honest.
Tough.
Sorry, I can't believe. You're defending religion?
Well, no, I'm defending the Constitution as we have it. It goes. But anyway, let's not go into that. We might start arguing.
That's what I said. Oh, what I was trying to say earlier, Steve, was I was talked before we were rudely interrupted by the power supply in Much Wenlock suddenly disappearing, which is very, very. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again. So if we do disappear again. You know the routine now. You just hang on until we come back. But yes, so before Henry VIII because it was actually Henry VIII that changed everything and started moving all of the furniture around. But before then, kings, and also, I suppose, after Henry VIII, the kings were quite brutal. And also the queens as well. Even though the ladies were sitting on the throne, they also could be quite ruthless. And they wouldn't even think twice about having someone's head chopped off. Fortunately nowadays, because of all of the reforms, I suppose it goes back to the time of the Magna Carta, when a lot of the powers were taken away from the monarchy and given or handed over to the people. So that's why we are in this situation now. So what was the question?
That was the question.
Oh,
Lewis said, why was Edward? Why did he have to abdicate when he wanted to marry a divorced woman? But why was Charles allowed to ascend to the throne? And it's just because times have changed.
Yes.
That's all it is. It's not seen as bad as it was back then.
And let's face it, their relationship goes back a very long way. That's all I'm saying. Pre-Diana. Yes. So it's a very strange... Somebody the other day, Steve, described Charles and Camilla as a fairy tale. Now, I don't know what type of fairy tale. Maybe it's one of Grimm's fairy tales. But I wouldn't call their romance a fairy tale. It is anything but.
The fairy tale was Charles and Diana. That was the fairy tale until that all went wrong.
Yeah.
But of course, Princes of Wales, the Prince of Wales has a long-standing history of let's just say philandering, of having many different partners.
I think this is one of the problems with him becoming king as well, because he's been around for so long without actually taking over. He's done lots of other things. So you might say that his character or his name has been slightly tainted and spoiled, because he was well known in the 70s. See, we grew up in the 70s and there was always a photograph of the young Prince Charles arm in arm or on one of his lovely exotic holidays with a beautiful woman next to him. So it did happen, and there was always a lot of interest in who he was with, who his latest squeeze was. Ooh.
Yes, and he was always seen as a bit of a catch, wasn't he? If you're a catch, it means that you're very attractive and worth marrying. And he was quite handsome when he was younger. And there are shots of him in his swimming trunks bathing in the sea and things like that used to get women quite look at Prince Charles, he was quite handsome, he's good looking, dashing, dare I even say sexy. I think women used to think he was very sexy back then.
Until the ears started getting bigger and bigger.
And
then he lost all his hair.
Let's face it, if you're a man and you've got the title Prince, you're pretty much guaranteed to attract the opposite sex, because that's quite a title to have. It's like a fairy tale, isn't it? Yes.
You might
princess.
You might describe King Charles as the artist formerly known as Prince. Yeah, do you like that?
You could do, yes. Symbol. I thought he looked a bit very emotional yesterday. During the ceremony, he looked like he was almost going to lose it at one point. I thought he looked quite emotional.
I think I know what the problem was. He didn't have a dump. He didn't have a poop.
Oh.
You've got to make sure, you see. So I reckon in the morning, because he was so worried about what was going to happen, he couldn't have a poop.
He's got people to do that for him, hasn't he?
And so the rest of the day, he had to hold that poop in.
The royalty, they don't go to the toilet, Mr. Duncan.
They do.
Oh, of course they don't.
King Charles has his own servant who does all of the royal wiping for him.
Yes.
It's true.
We're not sure about that, but we do know that he doesn't dress himself or put his toothpaste on his toothbrush. Well, that's what they say.
No, it's true. There have been many, many, many people who've come forward and said, he's very, very spoilt.
Well, the thing is, he's been born into it.
Yeah.
You know, he's born. The people in the Royal, they're born into it, so they don't know any different.
Okay.
Just as.
But he's not.
we're all-
He's not really a man of the people, then, is he? He's a man of the wealthy and pampered.
Well, he's protecting our freedoms. That's what he swore to do yesterday.
Yes, it was wonderful seeing all those people getting dragged off the streets and thrown into police vans at 8:15 yesterday morning.
Well, no, I think
Because-
they should have been.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you can't have people disrupting a coronation. They can protest whenever they like, but that you can't have people, that could potentially be. I mean, how do you know there weren't terrorists hidden amongst them?
Well, apparently they'd actually got permission. They got all of the proper permission and all of the paperwork to do it, because you can't just protest without telling the authorities. And apparently it was all approved. So the mistake might not be with the protesters. It might be the people who actually said you can go ahead and protest if you want.
Fairy Four says King Charles is anything but handsome and sexy. Yeah, now he isn't.
Yeah.
But if you look back, when he was in his 20s, you could arguably say that he was then, which is the point I was making. Now he's not. But when he was in his 20s and 30s, he was. Most people, from an objective point of view, you would look at him and say, yeah, he was good looking. But anyway, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so he might not be your type anyway.
The problem is they have some really weak genes, and the weakness is in the hair.
And the fingers.
Yes. Well, we're going to come to that in a moment, actually,
right,
Steve.
okay.
Because yesterday was a special day. The coronation took place. Some things now to show you on screen. Yes, there is some content today, so don't worry. But I have a horrible feeling that some of this has been lost because of the stupid power cut. See, that's the problem, see. When you have a power cut, lots of things go wrong, and you have to be very careful. So here we go. The coronation was yesterday. Of course, coronation, what does that refer to, do you think?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Yes, but that's when you actually become crowned.
And that's it. That's what it refers to. So the coronation is the crowning, hence coron or corona. We all know that word very well, don't we?
We do.
We do. So that's where it comes from. It refers to the crowning or the crown being placed on the head. So here we go. This is the only photograph I can show, by the way, without getting millions and millions of copyright strikes from YouTube. So there it is, yesterday's service. Lots of men in dresses wearing their long frocks. and they call other people weird.
Yes, it's strange because I was watching it yesterday thinking some of this looks a bit odd. I mean, it's steeped in nearly 1,000 years of history, so you can understand that. But I'm just wondering what other people around the world actually think.
Yes.
Do they think it's? What do you think? It'd be interesting to know what. You won't offend us. I mean, I'll defend it probably, but you won't offend us necessarily. But it's just ancient, isn't it? It's just a very ancient ceremony.
Yeah. But the thing is, all of these people are upholding the word of God, and they're all dressed in long frocks and dresses, and yet they would say that if a person wants to be trans or change their sex, they would probably say that that's terrible and abhorrent and weird and disgusting. And there they all are, standing there in long frocks. Yeah, yes, you see, the pot calling the kettle black, I think so. So here's another one from yesterday. Did you see the creepy moment? There was a very scary moment.
No, I don't remember that, Mr. Duncan.
No, there was. Apparently lurking around in the background was the Grim Reaper. And this is actually a moment from yesterday's coronation. Apparently during one of the shots on television, a lot of people reported seeing a cloaked figure walking across in the background.
Is that the cleaner?
I don't know who it is. Well, it's a very strange thing to wear if you are the cleaner. But a lot of people were joking that it was the Grim Reaper walking around. But I'm going to guess that it's maybe one of the clerics from around the abbey, just doing their daily job, maybe. But you might be right, Steve. It might be the cleaner.
And they look as though they're in black because of the way the light's sort of shining from. It's probably just something to do with the way it's being filmed, isn't it?
Maybe.
There's more light on the other side of them because they're near the door, aren't they?
That's it. Anyway, we also had yesterday the Stone of Destiny.
Oh, did we see that?
No, we didn't.
Why not?
And I was looking forward to seeing it. And not one person. For weeks and weeks and weeks, all we've heard about, Steve, is the Stone of Destiny. And yesterday they didn't even bother to mention it or show it or even refer to it in any way. After all those weeks of controversy.
It looks like a breeze block.
It is. Apparently King Charles has to sit on it. It doesn't look very comfortable. I think maybe that's why he couldn't get a poop out yesterday. Another thing I noticed, I don't know if you noticed this, Steve, but there was a moment where, do you remember the part when the rings were offered? They offered the rings, didn't they?
It was one of the ancient sort of connections to the past, you mean?
But they offered the rings before they put the ring on Charles's finger. They offered it to him. Well, I was surprised to see what they put the ring on. I don't know if you noticed, Steve, but I was surprised to see that they put it on a sausage.
Oh, right, yes.
So
that's interesting.
Did anyone else notice that? Because apparently King Charles has fingers that look like sausages, and apparently that's what they did. They put his royal ring on a sausage. I just hope it was one of his duchy sausages.
They're very nice. The skins are a bit tough. On the duchy sausages, I must say, we've had a few of those organic sausages, and the skin is very tough.
I think it's safe to say that I am never ever going to get a knighthood or anything from the royal family.
You might do it for your work in teaching English around the world. You should get at least an MBE for that.
I don't think this is going to help, though. Really, is it? This isn't going to help my chances.
For those of you watching, that it was actually not a sausage. Mr. Duncan has overlaid that in a clever way, using CGI or something.
Okay, good.
And it was just. Well, it looked a bit like a finger, but it was just. Yeah, it was just a sort of a support.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if people would have seen that. You see, it looks.
I think everyone knows. Everyone was watching yesterday.
Well, when I say everyone, but not necessarily everybody watching us today would have watched it.
I bet you everyone yesterday was watching, because we were, and I wasn't all that interested, and even I watched it. Anyway, later on, of course, they came out on the balcony, and their first words to the general public: "Bow, peasants."
Yes, well, of course, that's tradition, isn't it,
Yes.
Mr. Duncan?
So they have to first of all tell us all to bow. We have to get on our hands and knees and bow before them. So that is also one of the things that you might not have seen yesterday, but that is what they do. They stand on the balcony and they say, "Bow, peasants," and then we all have to get down on our hands and knees. So that's exactly what happened yesterday, all of it.
Yeah, and we were supposed to. We were asked, or it was suggested to us, that we offered our allegiance to the king there was a particular part of the ceremony when we were invited. Wasn't compulsory, but we were invited. Those of us who were watching on television were invited to share in the dedication to pledge our allegiance to the king. We didn't have to, but I think if you are somebody from another country that comes to live here and gets a passport and the right to live and work here, I think you have to pledge your allegiance to the sovereign. Because I know a friend of mine had to, who works in this country, came from Malaysia, and part of the process to get the passport was having to pledge. She had to pledge her allegiance to the Queen, as it was at the time. Yes, we're sort of automatically pledging our allegiance. I think if we're born here, aren't we, in a way?
We are the subjects.
We are that. We are, yes.
We are the plebeians.
But I was reading today about because there was a lot of talk of the law, wasn't there? In will upheld the law. The king Charles had to say, didn't he? He had to say, yes, I will. And I thought, and apparently a lot of people thought, that just meant the laws of the land. But that doesn't actually refer to that. It refers to a very ancient law of each of us having sovereignty, having freedom. So he's actually pledging an allegiance to make sure that we remain free. So it wasn't about the laws of the land. It was about the ancient law. I don't know when that would have been set up.
Well, that sounds like it's something from the Magna Carta.
It might be. I'm not sure that it is, but it might be. That I think it might be even from before that.
It's been a while since I've read it, you see.
I've been there, by the way, to Runnymede, and actually, been there. So that's what he's. So in theory, if we get some horrible dictator who tries to take charge,
okay,
then the king or the queen can actually get rid of them. They have that ultimate power if they deem them to be taking away our individual freedoms.
Yes, I suppose.
So
when you think about it, there's only really two choices when you think about it. You have a monarchy or you have a republic. And then I suppose in between that you have a kind of autocratic ruler who is there, and they I suppose you might say that the situation in China is a bit like that.
Or Russia.
So President Xi is now, basically he's said, I'm not going anywhere, guys. I'm staying here for forever and ever.
He is like a king, really.
Yes, he's kind of,
in the ancient sort of, ruler. I don't know whether he has complete power, does he? I suppose he does.
Yes, he does. He's the supreme leader. That's how they actually address him. He is the supreme leader. He is the top dog. He is the head honcho, the big cheese, if you will.
Francesca says, I admire Princess Anne, which of course you do. You're not really. I wouldn't call you a royalist.
No, I'm not a royalist. But the one member of the royal family that I love is Princess Anne, because I grew up with her growing up. So I remember all of the things that she used to do, and she was a very real person. I always thought that she was very similar to the Duke of Edinburgh, who was, of course, the Queen's husband. Her brash and abrasive character, she would always tell people if she didn't like something, she would tell them quite directly.
And she works very hard.
Yes.
She's a very hard-working royal.
Apparently she's the hardest working
yes.
of all the royals.
Yes, but was she born in 1953? Probably. How old is she then?
Well, she's
older than you, isn't she?
She's definitely older than me.
Yes.
I hope so.
Yes, she probably was born around that time. That would make sense. She's probably she'd be about 70, right? How old's Charles?
74.
74. Yes, that's probably about right. 53, I would say. But most people admire Princess Anne. She just sort of gets on with it. You don't hear her moaning and groaning, which is like a lot of the royals. They don't make public comments. You don't hear them criticising people in public. They always stay quiet, don't they?
That's
like this thing over Meghan and Harry. You haven't heard anyone from the royal family making any public statements about it.
Well, that's. I think I mentioned the word protocol earlier. So it's one of the things you never do. You never say, and you never complain. You never talk about issues, and you never complain about those things. So that's always the rule. I think that's one of the reasons why everyone loved the Queen, Queen Elizabeth II. They loved her because she took the job completely and utterly seriously, and never really seemed to comment or make personal opinions. The only problem is over the years, Charles has. He's got deeply over the years into politics, and the environment and all of these other things. So I think that's one of the reasons why having him now as king seems a little bit out of place, because we know what he thinks about things, whereas we never did about Queen Elizabeth. We never really knew what was going on inside there.
Because she was very young when she became queen. What else are we doing today, Mr. Duncan?
Not much else.
All right, yes, okay.
There isn't much else. We're not doing much else today.
Okay.
There isn't much else going. Well, to be honest, this is all people are talking about at the moment in the UK, don't you think? We're not hearing anything else. So if Russia has invaded anywhere else, if anything, any catastrophes have occurred, we're not going to hear about it here, because all people are talking about today is the coronation. And there's a big celebration tonight, by the way, taking place in London. Stars, British stars, including Lionel Richie. That's not right, is it? Is Lionel Richie British?
Is Cliff Richard doing something?
No, they've all refused.
Shirley Bassey?
No, refused.
You see, they're being a bit silly. They're being a bit silly,
Yes.
because this will be an event that will always be remembered.
Yes.
And so for them to... Why aren't they? Why have they said they won't do it?
Well, I think it's some of the recent events surrounding Meghan Markle and Prince Harry and the treatment of them and other things as well. It's a little bit complex, to be honest, but many of the big celebrities in this country have said, no, we are not going to perform. So instead we have American Lionel Richie topping the bill, and Katy Perry.
I do know. I don't even know who Katy Perry is.
She hasn't had a hit for about 13 or 14 years.
I don't know who it is. I've never heard of her.
Yes.
I probably should have done, but never heard of her. Name a hit.
Well, she's very well known for dating, what's his name? You know, hello, I'm Russell Brand.
Oh, right,
Apparently,
okay.
she dated him for a while. She might even be married to him, for all I know. But no, those are the two big stars that are appearing in the concert, the pop concert. Lionel Richie and Katy Perry. No one else. So it should be really, really enthralling. That's all I can say.
Do we know any women dictators? Yes, that's a very good question. I think they're probably few and far between. Yes, any women who have become... It's always men, isn't it, that seem to be dictators. Interesting.
Nancy Reagan, apparently. Apparently Nancy Reagan was not a very nice person. When she passed, a lot of people were saying all these lovely, kind things about her, but at the time, she was actually quite outspoken. She was a what they call a thorough, red-blooded Republican. She really was all the way through, and she was quite outspoken, and very right-wing, dare I say. She didn't have much time during the AIDS epidemic when it started. She said, no, let them all die.
Yes,
They deserve it. They deserve it. Thank you, Nancy Reagan.
Yes, all those people in Africa that have died from AIDS, and she basically said, let them die.
Yeah,
she wasn't referring to that, of course. But
no,
that's what transpired in the end.
How lovely. So you might say that there may have been women in history who may have put their thoughts forward and may have influenced things as well from the background.
Catherine the Great, says Tomek from Russia.
Yes.
Yes, maybe. Yes, I think you're probably right.
But she was a very good cook. She could bake a meatloaf like anything. She was really good at meatloaf, apparently.
Anybody else? Yes. Any other female dictators? Or they don't have to be, nasty dictators. They can be dictators, but they're well. I mean, you can have a benevolent dictator, can't you? They used to say that to whoever was the leader in Malaysia for many years, begins with an M. I can't remember his name.
That would be
Mahathir or
yes,
something.
that would be Mahathir.
they called him he was a dictator, but they called him a benevolent dictator. So he had absolute power, but he wasn't going around, locking people up and, well, he might have been.
He was, though.
But they called him a benevolent dictator. I think as dictators go, he wasn't as bad as a lot of them.
You do realise they had the death penalty in Malaysia when we used to stay there, and they were locking up gay people, and even his political opponent, he had him locked up in prison. So I think it's fair to say that he was just a bit of a dictator.
Yes, I don't think he wasn't. Yes, wasn't. I think in terms of degrees, I don't think he's as bad as some of them.
So what's the cutoff? So if you kill less than 1 million people, you're not such a bad dictator.
I'm not sure. I'll probably say Queen Victoria was probably. I know she wouldn't have been a dictator, but I mean she obviously had a lot of power.
She was actually quite. She was very. Queen Victoria had a very interesting life. In fact, this puritanical way of getting society to behave, but underneath, all of the naughty things were going on still. And this happens quite a lot in countries that have strict rules, strict moral rules. Quite often underneath, it's all still going on. And that's what was going on during the Victorian era.
Rosa makes an interesting observation about wives being dictators.
Oh.
The last word in my house is always mine. Ha ha! Of course, we've often commented on this, that we see in a lot of relationships with married people, men and women married, that the woman often does seem to have the last word.
Yeah, I think
you could say that they are dictators in a sense in the marriage situation. And I'm not sure why that is. I think they probably just wear down their husbands, and the husbands just give up if they want a quiet life.
Yeah. I think it's the man wears the trousers, but the woman holds the wallet. And I think that's it. You have to treat the woman well. You have to make sure that you keep her happy, or you won't be getting your treat on the table. You won't be getting your lovely meals. You won't be getting your Friday night special, whatever that is.
I'm not going to say that.
No,
I'm not going to say what I was going to say.
Don't say anything else.
I won't say anything else because I don't want to offend any wives out there.
No.
But all I can say is it must be good.
It
must be good if men are prepared to kowtow down to their wives. But it's all we're joking. It's all a sort of, I presume it evens out somewhere along the way.
Are you joking? I'm not even sure if Steve is joking at this point, to be honest.
Oh,
but you know what it's like. But it is true. But although history has shown there have been many evil women who've committed terrible crimes, so I can think of at least 2 in this country, 2 women who committed awful crimes over the years. Ruth Ellis is one. Ruth Ellis, she was the last woman to be hanged.
Mm.
It's true.
Oh yes, but yeah, Intelligent makes an interesting point here, and of course we've discussed this before. In order to get into power, you probably have to have psychopathic tendencies.
Definitely.
I think you do, yes, because you have to be able to. It's what you want, isn't it? It's all about you, and you don't care about anybody else or the consequences of what you do. So, yeah, you've got to be a bit of a psychopath to get into power, because if you're not, somebody who is a psychopath is going to get rid of you.
Yes.
And depose you in some way.
I think this is the same also in a career as well. So if you have a certain career, you work for a certain company, you find those that move to the top, those that become more powerful in the company, often have a certain mindset that puts them in that position. And I think that's what you've said a lot, isn't it? You've said it a lot, that a lot of people that want power normally have something that's going on in their mind that's slightly different from other people.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could, it's been said before. Intelligent will probably concur with this. It's often been said that if you could screen out psychopaths when they're children and have them treated, if it's possible to treat somebody with those tendencies or give them tablets or something, then we wouldn't have these lunatics running countries and killing loads of people just to try and, invading other countries. And I'm not talking about just recently, but in the past, turning the populations against another country to justify taking over that country because they've got more wealth or something that they want. I mean, that's, you've got to be a bit of a psychopath to do that.
I think so. Yes, I think there is if only there was a way of sort of going into the garden and pulling up the weeds, the things that you don't want to grow, but and keeping them separate or giving them some sort of treatment. Maybe there would be fewer murders and things going on, but it's not easy.
It's often said there are two types of people in this world: people who lead and people who are led. And I think that's why it's much easier to be led, isn't it? To give up that self-control and just say no. I'll just be led.
Yeah.
It's a much easier life if you just go along with what everyone else is doing.
Yes.
And then that's what often leads you into doing things which are very bad because you're. Even religion is the same. Look what's happened in the past with religions. What's been done in the name of religion. But let's not get into that.
Well, you're getting into it.
But yeah, that's a whole other subject.
Okay.
Are we playing the...
No, we're not. We're not doing anything else today. I had some lovely bits for the coronation, but I've lost them because of the power cut. I had things loaded in my computer, but because I didn't save them properly and the power cut occurred, I've now lost them.
Well, there's a lesson.
Well, no, it isn't a lesson. Well, the lesson is for the local electricity company not to have power outages. So it's not my fault; it's their fault, and that's my stance on it. To be honest.
Yes, so, Carlos says if people in the UK had seen this ceremony in another country, they would have made fuss. They would have made fun of all the fuss.
Can I just say we do that? That's exactly what we do on the news. Quite often the news will report on other countries that have a slightly tighter hold on their population. North Korea. We often make fun of North Korea in this country with all of the military processions and the rather sort of the appearance of the leader everywhere you look. But when you think about it, yesterday all you saw were pictures of King Charles everywhere and lots of flags flying and lots of military presence as well. Lots of people, the soldiers and the army, doing exactly the same thing as what they do in North Korea. But we often make fun of North Korea for following their way of ruling without any thought or question. And here we are in this country doing arguably the same thing.
Yeah, and of course, because you're born here, it's very difficult to look from the outside and see what's really happening. But we are all being brainwashed a bit, I'm sure. Just like all countries tend to brainwash their populations, don't they, to get them to conform, because you might need to use that one day. Then with the same things happening to us. I mean, we've been brought up with the royalty, so it's all a bit of brainwashing, really, isn't it, going on?
Okay.
But we like to think it's fairly benevolent and not really particularly harmful. But
I suppose it is. I suppose it is now, isn't it? But if you are equating other countries with what we do, on the surface, it appears to be exactly the same thing. But underneath, of course, when you dig deeper, you realise that here, no one is being sent to the Tower of London and locked up or murdered or beheaded. So none of that happens anymore. Whilst in other countries, where in other countries, it does still happen.
Quite a lot.
So I think that's the difference. That's what I'm saying. So even though we have all of this royalty, they really can't do much with it, fortunately.
No, I don't think we don't sort of bump people off, do we, in this country? Oh, I mean, we might do. For all I know, it probably does happen. But you don't. I think we'd have heard about it if it did.
Well, it doesn't happen.
No.
I think we would have heard about it. I don't think. Honestly,
murder each other. But,
honestly, yes. King Charles is not ordering the execution of anyone.
I'm not about King Charles.
Well, that's what I'm on about.
Yeah. Oh well, that obviously doesn't happen now. I was on about governments, but that's another thing altogether. So you've got nothing else to show? Nothing.
All right, Steve. They keep drawing attention to that, by the way. Yeah, I've got nothing. I've got nothing here, Steve. There is nothing. Because of the power cut, I've lost some of the content from today's show. So I've got nothing. So I'm sorry, everyone. If you want to click away now and do something else, we've got nothing. And it's because of the power cut.
Lewis said that all French channels were programmed to the coronation.
Of course they were.
I don't think they all were here. I think you could watch other things, couldn't you?
There was Johnny English. One channel was showing Johnny English.
Yes.
During the coronation, which I thought was quite funny.
I didn't go flick through all the channels, but certainly all the news channels were covering it. But I wonder if other channels, there's hundreds of them, aren't there? I wonder if they were all covering it. What about Al Jazeera? Were they covering it?
They were.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes, I did actually look at Al Jazeera yesterday, and they were covering it, not as much as we were, of course, but they were mentioning it because, of course, very interested. Royalty. They have their own royal families in the Middle East, so very, very similar in some ways. In other ways, very different. And that's all I'm saying about that. We are back, by the way, next Sunday, for those wondering. But, of course, we are getting excited here because we are going away. Next month, the beginning of next month, we are going away. We're having a little trip and hopefully meeting up with a few of you at the same time. I had something I wanted to show you, but it's gone. Oh, no, there it is. It's come back. Yesterday, by the way, was a special day. Do you know yesterday? Because we are going to Paris next month. And yesterday was the anniversary of the opening of the Eiffel Tower. Did you know on May the 6th, 1889, the Eiffel Tower was officially opened to the public in Paris, France.
Right.
The tower, which was designed by Gustave Eiffel, is now one of the most famous landmarks in the world and attracts millions of viewers and visitors who want to come and see it every single year. Millions of people. And we will be one of those people. In fact, I will be one of them, and you will be one of them as well. And maybe you will be one of those people meeting up at the beginning of June when we have our little Paris rendezvous.
You know who you are. Are we going to do a live stream during the meetup, says Tomek?
I know why Tomek has...
Question.
Yes. I know why Tomek has asked this question. I know why. Because Tomek doesn't want to be on camera. He doesn't want any live streams or any filming when we meet up. So that might be difficult. You might have to put something over your head, maybe a bucket or something, because we probably will be doing a live stream, or at least we will be doing some filming.
That would be very exciting
when we meet up together. So to answer your question, Tomek, yes, we will. We will be doing some filming, maybe a live stream. It all depends on the technology, to be honest with you.
Of course, you don't have to take part in that. We're not going to dictate to you that you have to be part of that. But it would be very nice for everybody else to see, wouldn't it? That'd be quite exciting, that would, Mr. Duncan. But let's see what happens. Marcia says, yes, it would be very nice.
This is when we find out all of the little secrets that you have. So when we meet up, we will see eye to eye. You won't be able to hide behind your keyboard. Ooh, it's exciting, actually.
Is anyone going to come now at all after you've said that, Mr. Duncan? Maybe he's a secret agent, says Valentin. Yes, maybe.
Maybe he's a famous TV star or an actor, and we don't even realise it.
Well, doesn't Tomek said to us before that he's been in the showbiz?
I don't remember.
I think Tomek has said that he's been involved in showbiz before.
Oh.
And in fact, Tomek's saying he's not camera shy at all. And why not? Quite the contrary.
Oh, okay then.
Good, fantastic.
That's even better then.
Yep. You can be a co-presenter.
Maybe you can just present it and we can go somewhere else and have one of these. We can have one of these. I'll put one of these in my mouth. I want to have one of these. Lovely baguettes. A lot of people were talking about this last week on the Paris meetup page. And they were all talking about their little ways of finding their fresh bread in the morning. Quite often they will go out and have a croissant. And I must admit, I am looking forward to trying a lovely French croissant, maybe from a local French baker.
Yeah, well, I think we said that. Coffee and croissants, yeah, that would be, I'm looking forward to that. Beef bourguignon, I'm looking forward to, which we had last time we went to Paris. One of my favourite meals. It's sort of meat, isn't it? A beef sort of in a lovely sauce with red wine. And I'm very much looking forward to that. One of my favourite meals with potatoes and vegetables. So yes, all the French food. Looking forward to that. I can hear things moving around, Mr. Duncan.
Can you?
Yes, it's there's somebody moving around outside, I think. But yeah, that'll be good, and it'd be nice if we could all have a meal together, wouldn't it? That would be very nice. We'll have to decide what we're going to do.
Yes.
When we meet up.
Of course, we will be splitting the bill, just to make sure we're clear.
Yes, we're clear on that.
Can we just be clear on that now? So there will be some ground rules. One of them, well, there are several, including don't hug me, because I don't like hugs, and also we're splitting the bill if we go somewhere to eat.
Or even better. No, anyway, up to that. Yes, Tomek says that we can relax and Lewis and I can take over.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and we can be the guests. You can interview us, you can ask us what you like, and we have to answer.
Well, I'm looking forward to meeting all of you, to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. We're insured, so if anything happens,
What?
we'll be fine.
What do you think might happen?
We go Dutch, just says Tomek. I was going to say that, but I didn't want to offend.
Yes. That's quite good, actually.
We go Dutch, except we know you're not actually Dutch.
But what does that mean?
Well, you explain that, Mr. Duncan.
If you go Dutch, it means everyone pays for their own share.
Yeah.
So whatever you have to pay for that part of the meal. Whereas if you just split the bill, you might just divide it by 2 or 3 or 4, or in our case, 13 or 14 people. So I think at the moment there are around maybe 10 or 12 people. But what we're not sure of is if you are bringing your partner or anyone else with you. So that will be also quite interesting. So I would imagine some of you, because you're travelling a long way, maybe you will be coming with other people. So that should be very interesting. So there might be maybe 15 or even 20 people walking around Paris, causing all sorts of chaos.
I know. If we're booking somewhere to go and eat, and maybe we can ask people like Lewis, who lives in Paris, where would be a nice place to go and eat. We may need to book up well in advance.
No seafood.
Because obviously if there's a big group of us, we won't be able to just turn up and go for a meal. So that would be Very exciting.
That would be my other ground rule. If we go somewhere to eat, no seafood restaurants, not with the mussels, because you know the French, they love the mussels, they love the lobster, they love the, what's that other thing, the caviar. I've never tried caviar, by the way. Never tried it, ever.
Foie gras, says Francesca. She adores foie gras, which is sort of pate, isn't it, made from...
I want to say liver, but I don't think it is it?
Is it? I can't remember what foie gras is now. Is it something to do with? Is it a bird's eggs or something? I can't remember now.
Okay.
No, it's not. You're probably right. It just probably is. I think it's from a very young. I've got a feeling it's. Somebody tell us.
Yes.
Nice and cheap, says Tomic. Yes, well, we actually went to... Do you remember when we went to Paris last time? We went down the Champs-Élysées and we went to this restaurant and it was awful. We had a pizza.
Oh, yeah, but that was... Yes,
it was the worst pizza I've ever had.
Now, if you live in Paris or you know Paris, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It is the first few restaurants on the Champs-Élysées after the Arc de Triomphe. And those are the places where the tourists go. And most of it isn't that good. So if you really want to find the
Goose
good...
liver.
Sorry?
Yeah, if you really want to find... Well, Lewis will tell us, won't he?
Okay. If you really want to find the good restaurants, you go further down. You need to go slightly off the beaten track to get the nice places. The Red Restaurant was the place we went to. Not very far away from the Louvre, and it was very nice and not very expensive either. But the food was amazing.
No, I forgot to get a receipt because we were on a work trip, and if I'd got the receipt, I could have got the money back for it. But I lost the receipt.
So it was liver.
Yes,
I was right.
Goose liver. I was going to say goose. I was thinking of a bird, but I couldn't think what it was. But there you go. Yeah. Well, we're not staying on for much longer, are we? Because we've got nothing to show because of the power failure.
Yes, we had a power failure. So I think this live stream is still complete. I don't know how it does it, but YouTube obviously have been very good, and they've managed to put the two live streams together, even though we went off for about 15 minutes. But somehow I think this is still the same live stream. So well done, YouTube.
Maybe it's AI doing that.
No, I don't think so. I think YouTube is still a bit behind with all of that. They've only just got full high definition, so I think they are a little behind. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We are back next week, and hopefully things will be back to normal as well, whatever that is.
And you might do something in the week, mightn't you, Mr. Duncan?
We might.
You nearly did one this week. We couldn't yesterday.
I have something I want to do next week. I want to go and find some lovely wild bluebells. There are bluebells growing in the woods, in the forest, at the back of the house, but you do have to search for them. And apparently when you do find them, they are absolutely beautiful. So hopefully if the weather is nice tomorrow or Tuesday, I would like to go and try and find some bluebells. And if I can get a good signal on my phone, I might even do it live. We will see what happens. Another thing to mention just before we go, this morning I got up very early, by the way, and I filmed the dawn chorus. It was the most amazing thing, and I hope it's still in my computer. I bet it isn't. I bet it is. Oh, there it is. Yes, it is. It is. So this was this morning. Listen to that. Isn't that amazing? So I got up early this morning and we actually filmed, well I did, and then Steve came down to see where I was. I filmed the dawn chorus. And amazing. It is one of the most amazing things that occurs in nature. And I have to say I love it. So that video is now available on my YouTube channel, and I think it runs for about 11 minutes. 11 minutes.
Yes.
But it's beautiful. The beautiful sound of nature.
Okay, well, sorry it hasn't been quite let's go to Italy for coffee, says Palmyra. Yes, I think we'll bring a flask. Maybe Lewis can bring a flask of coffee for us all, and then we won't have to spend €7 on a coffee.
We can maybe have a picnic by the Eiffel Tower.
Yes, maybe we can. Is there anything to eat at the top of the Eiffel Tower? Is there a cafe?
There is. There's a restaurant.
Ah, right.
You can actually book. And I was looking at all of this morning, so I was actually looking at how you get up the Eiffel Tower, and you can book tickets, although they go very quickly. So once they're gone, you can't actually get them. But also there is a restaurant. Did you know there are only 3 floors on the Eiffel Tower? 3 floors. So you would imagine maybe there are lots of levels, but actually there's only 3. There's the bottom near the base, then halfway up, and then at the very top. And there is a restaurant as well that you can actually sit in on the Eiffel Tower. And it's very expensive.
And probably not very good, because it's probably a tourist restaurant, but Lewis will be able to tell us. Right. I'm going to put the tea on, Mr. Duncan. Lovely to see you all.
Are we having a tea cake?
Yes, I think so, definitely. Are we going together, or are you? Shall I go and then? How do you want to do it today, Mr.
We'll
Duncan?
go together, shall we?
All right then.
If we're going to go, we will go together. That's my only wish in this world. So thank you very, very much for your company. Thanks for watching. We are back next week. Hopefully there won't be any power cuts. Or I will be on the phone, and I will be very angry, asking the local electricity company why they are not supplying the electricity to us and spoiling my live stream. See you soon. This is Mr. Duncan and
Mr. Steve.
That's him there. It is. Saying thanks for watching. See you soon. Take care of yourselves. And of course, until the next time we meet here, you know what's coming next. Yes, you do. After 3, 1, 2, 3.
Ta-ta for now.